Welcome back to part 3 of A History of Forbes Field. This is part 3 of a 4-part series, so if you missed parts 1 or 2, go ahead and click the cards in the corner to get caught up. Other than that, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and let's begin. The Pirates rounded out the 1920s by playing solid baseball, even finishing in second place in 1929, with Forbes Field nearly, but not quite eclipsing the 500,000 attendance mark in 1928 and 1929. Going into 1930, Barney Dreyfuss made a significant change to right field, adding a 28-foot in-place screen atop of the already existing 9.5-foot wall. This helped prevent those dreaded cheap home runs that Dreyfuss hated so much. 2 years following the addition of the screen, tragedy struck the Pittsburgh Pirates organization. On February 5th, just weeks before his 67th birthday, Pirates owner Barney Dreyfuss passed away. Several significant baseball figures such as Kennesaw Landis and Honus Wagner served as pallbearers at his funeral. 2 years following his death, in June 1934, the Pirates celebrated Forbes Field's 25th anniversary with a stone monument to Dreyfuss installed in play in dead center field. The monument lasted as long as Forbes Field did, and was moved to Three River Stadium, then again to PNC Park, where it rests today in the concourse behind home plate. Following his passing in 1932, the local press made another push to rename the ballpark in Dreyfuss's honor, but it was to no avail. The stadium would permanently remain Forbes Field. Barney Dreyfuss's widow, Florence, inherited the team and would maintain ownership for the next 14 years. Forbes Field played host to one of the greatest swan song moments the sport has ever seen on May 25, 1935, when Babe Ruth smashed a 3-home run game at Forbes Field in his sole season as a Boston Brave. This 3-run escapade just so happened to feature home runs number 712, 713, and 714, the final 3 home runs of the great Bambino's career. The third and final home run of the day, and the last moonshot ever hit by the mythic legend, was the first to ever clear the right field roof at Forbes Field, and is still widely considered the longest home run ever hit there. 3 years after the Sultan of Swat smashed his final home run, Forbes Field saw a new addition heading into the 1938 season. A press box, colloquially called the Crow's Nest, was added atop the grandstand behind home plate, allowing radio broadcasters a dedicated space to do their jobs. That 1938 season also saw Forbes Field play host to its smallest ever crowd for a Major League Baseball game, when a measly 1,034 fans showed up to see their Pirates fall to their cross-state rival Phillies 3-2. As the decade came to a close, the Pirates were known as a consistently good ball club, only finishing with losing records in 1931, 1934, and 1939, otherwise remaining quite competitive. Attendance lagged behind the play on the field, though, as Forbes Field surpasses 500,000 fans only a single time in 1938. The Great Depression was raging, and going to the ballpark was quite a luxury. Permanent lights were installed at Forbes Field early in the 1940 season, with the first game under those lights taking place on June 4th. 20,310 fans took their seats at Forbes Field as the new lights turned on for the first time, watching their Pirates beat up the visiting Boston Bees 14-2. A couple of years after the lights were installed, the Pirates purchased a new batting practice cage for their ballpark. Their previous portable batting cage was small, and thus simply stored behind home plate in front of the seats. Upon the purchase of their new one, a significantly larger portable batting cage, a new storage space was needed, one that wouldn't obstruct the views of the fans. For a short time, the team stored it in foul territory, before moving it permanently to the deepest part of left center field. Its new home would become an aesthetic mainstay at Forbes Field. Funny enough, the light towers out in the outfield, which were erected on the playing field, were fenced off and deemed out of play, while the batting cage and flagpole, also on the field of play, were considered to be in play. World War II was in full force during the early to mid-1940s, severely affecting the play on the field as well as attendance. 1943 brought another change to the Pirates organization, as for the first and only time ever, they posted an advertisement on their outfield wall promoting the U.S. Marines. Then, just a year later, the organization and stadium were awarded the hosting of the 12th ever MLB All-Star Game. On July 11, 1944, just a little more than a month after the invasion of Normandy, the best of what was left of Major League Baseball met up in Pittsburgh to play for pride. 3 Pirates were selected to the National League team, making the hosting ball club a well-represented one in front of a crowd of 29,589 fans. The National League would win the day 7-1, but the real story was the donation of ticket revenue to a fund that provided baseball equipment to soldiers overseas. In even just the smallest way, Forbes Field was able to provide a piece of home to those sacrificing everything for freedom. The war ended in 1945, and things began to return to normal. 1946 saw some major changes at Forbes Field when the Pirates organization had the left and center walls removed and replaced with brick. The batters enjoyed a green batter's eye previously, and to compensate for that with the new red brick, the groundskeeping crew planted ivy at the base of the new walls. Before long, Crosley gained the beautiful aesthetic of ivy-colored brick. That same year saw a change in ownership, with the team leaving the hands of the Dreyfuss family permanently when Florence Dreyfuss sold the team to a conglomerate of investors spearheaded by John Galbraith. With a fresh batting cage, beautiful new brick walls, and a new ownership group, the Pirates cruised through the rest of the decade, hosting one of the premier cultural spots for baseball. Following the 1946 baseball season, Forbes Field hosted a significant exhibition game against one Jackie Robinson's All-Stars, taking on an All-Star team put together by Honus Wagner. This was the first of a multiple-stop barnstorming tour put on by the Brooklyn Dodgers to introduce Robinson to baseball fans. A soft launch, if you will, for the legendary ballplayer who made his actual Major League debut just a mere 6 months later. Wagner's All-Stars went on to beat Robinson's All-Stars at Forbes Field, but Robinson's team would go on to win that matchup twice during the tour. A few months after Jackie Robinson's barnstorming tour, the Pirates acquired legendary first baseman Hank Greenberg from the Tigers. Now aged 36, Greenberg had just come off a great season for Detroit, smashing 44 home runs and knocking in 127 RBI. Amid a contract dispute with the Tigers, Greenberg threatened to retire, and the Tigers sold his rights to the Pirates. To persuade him to play, the Pirates gave him a salary of $100,000, a first in baseball history. To welcome their new star, the bullpens were moved from foul territory to the base of the wall in left field. The pens were fenced off and given the nickname Greenberg's Gardens. Greenberg would only play one season in Pittsburgh before retiring for good, posting a diminished yet still solid performance in his final campaign. Upon his retirement, Greenberg's Gardens was renamed to Kiner's Corner, in honor of the Pirates' young left fielder, Ralph Kiner. That 1947 season with Hank Greenberg turned out to be a miserable one on the field for the Bucks, as they finished with a 62, 92, and 2 record, good for second to last in the National League. Despite the awful baseball, Forbes Field smashed its attendance record, surpassing 1 million fans for the first time and finishing out with 1,283,531, good for 5th in the National League. The Pirates bounced back in 1948, finishing 83, 71, and 2, and breaking their attendance mark again. This time they led the National League, hosting a massive 1,517,021 fans throughout the year. Unfortunately for those fans, this would be their last winning campaign for a decade. Their on-field performance dropped dramatically just within a few years, finishing 1949 with a 71-83 record, then following that in 1950 with a miserable 57-96-1 campaign. Attendance fell both seasons, with 49 seeing 1.45 million fans and 1950 hosting 1.17 million fans. John Galbraith's ownership got off to a rough start, seeing the bottom fall out of an organization that had produced consistent, winning baseball for decades preceding this purchase. Things stayed rough for the Pirates on-field throughout the early 1950s. They finished 1951 in 7th place, with 980,590 tickets sold, and 1952 in last place, with a disappointing 686,673 fans coming to Forbes Field. That 1952 season began a run of 4 consecutive years where the Pirates finished dead last in the National League. Future Hall of Famer Ralph Kiner was shipped off to the Cubs in the middle of 1953, and the bullpens were moved from left field back to their original location in foul territory. Just like that, Kiner's corner was no more. The following season saw attendance at Forbes Field dip below 500,000 for the first time since 1943. Though the Pirates were bad and attendance kept dropping, play started to slowly improve through the decade. 1955 saw a new addition added to Forbes Field in the form of a statue of legendary shortstop Honus Wagner. The statue was placed in Cheney Plaza, across the street from the stadium, where it remained until the Pirates left Forbes Field. 1955 also saw them acquire future Hall of Fame right fielder Roberto Clemente, who would help take the club back to their pennant-winning ways. Pirates fans likely had no idea what they were in for, but by the end of the decade, they were on top once again. There may have been reason to be optimistic for the future, but the Pirates still struggled greatly as they marched through the mid-1950s. They finished with losing records in both 1955 and 1956, yet, despite the bad baseball, 1956 saw Forbes Field play host to a record-breaking effort and the most attended game in the history of the stadium. First, the broken record. On May 28th, the Pirates hosted the Dodgers, with the Pirates' first baseman Dale Long having hit a home run in his last 7 consecutive games. One more, and he would establish a new Major League record. 32,221 fans showed up to the game hoping to witness Major League history. Long grounded out in the first, then led off the bottom of the fourth. The Dodgers' Carl Erskine threw him a curveball low, and Long went down and got it, driving it into the lower deck of right field. As he rounded the bases and entered the dugout, the crowd continued to give him a standing ovation, causing Dale Long to emerge from the dugout and tip his cap. According to Pirates general manager Branch Rickey, it was the first ever curtain call in baseball history. A few months after Dale Long's record-breaking efforts, on September 23rd, the Pirates hosted the Dodgers in front of Forbes Field's largest ever crowd, a massive 44,932 people. The game had to be postponed in the 9th due to rain and was finished the next day with an 8-3 Dodgers win. They finished out the year with a 66-88-3 record and in second to last place. On a positive note, the Bucks broke a streak of 4 consecutive seasons, finishing dead last in the National League. They took a step back the next year, finishing 1957 at 62-92-1 and in 7th place again. Then, they put it all together once again in 1958. Led by a trio of great young ball players, those being a 21-year-old second baseman Bill Mazeroski, 26-year-old left fielder Bob Skinner, and 23-year-old right fielder Roberto Clemente, the 1958 Pittsburgh Pirates finished the year with an 84-70 record, their first winning season since 1948. They finished out the year in second place, 8 games behind the pennant-winning Milwaukee Braves, and for the first time since 1950, hosted over 1 million fans with 1,311,988 coming to Forbes Field. 1958 wasn't only significant for the Pirates' return to glory, as for the first time ever, Forbes Field saw an ownership change to outside of the Pirates organization. The Pirates, realizing the age and limitations of their historic ballpark, began entertaining ideas of moving to a newly constructed stadium. Their first step in this process was to sell the ballpark, and they found a buyer in the nearby University of Pittsburgh. The university had a long-standing relationship with the Pirates and Forbes Field, something that we're going to detail in a bit, so Pitt was a logical buyer of the property. Starting in 1958 and lasting until the Pirates left, the university would lease the stadium out to the ball club. The sale was completed at a cost of $2 million. The Bucks took a step back in 1959, finishing out in 4th place with a 78-76-1 record. 1,359,917 fans attended games throughout the relatively mediocre season, though they were treated to the hosting of another All-Star game. The 26th edition of the Midsummer Classic took place at Forbes Field on July 7, 1959, in front of a crowd of 35,277 fans. 3 Pirates, catcher Smokey Burgess, second baseman Bill Mazeroski, and shortstop Dick Groat made the starting lineup for the National League, though altogether 8 Pirates were named to the squad as the hosting NL team beat the AL team 5-4. Worth mentioning in terms of the 1959 season was a dreary road game in Milwaukee on May 26th. Harvey Haddix took the mound and pitched what I consider to be the greatest game of all time. Retiring 36 consecutive batters, that would be 12 innings into a perfect game, he lost it in the 13th. An absolutely incredible feat, lost to time due to its tragic ending. I made a video on it that you should check out. Go ahead and click the card on the corner if you're interested. Even though Haddix lost that game, you could sense there was something special brewing in Pittsburgh. Going into the 1960 season, Pirates fans were riding a high that they hadn't felt for well over a decade. Thank you for joining me for part 3 of A History of Forbes Field. If you're enjoying this series, please like, comment, and subscribe. For more ways to help out, please consider becoming a channel member or buying some of the Bad Baseball Fan merch. Your support means the world to me. That's all for today. I'll see you next week, and remember, if you like baseball, like this video and subscribe for more.